Queen Isolde feels trapped. She's aboard a ship bound for Cornwall where she's to marry King Mark and unite their kingdoms. All she can do is wait, dreading a future with a man she doesn't even know. She's escorted by Tristan, a young knight who she cannot stand. When he first met Isolde, he lied to her about his identity. He's the reason why King Mark even knows who she is to begin with. He killed her uncle in a sword duel. He tries fruitlessly to comfort her over the journey, but each time, very reasonably, she turns him away. "I detest you," she tells him. "If not for you, I would not have a care in the world." The journey goes on this way for a while, increasingly uncomfortable for both of them, until one evening, her maid offers them both what she thinks is wine. Once they drink from that flask, something changes. Isolde's hatred evaporates completely. She tries to cling to it, but she becomes helplessly, heedlessly obsessed with Tristan. Tristan, for his part, tells himself that he has a duty to the king, but all he can think about is Isolde. It turns out, what they drank wasn't wine at all. It was a love potion intended for Isolde and King Mark. Where before they couldn't stand to be together, now Tristan and Isolde can't stand to be apart. They don't want to be in love with each other, but they can't help it. They're so infatuated their bodies nearly waste away because they can't think of anything else. No matter how they resist, and they do try, they are drawn inexorably to each other. Isolde feels as if she's drowning in quicksand. Tristan was, quote, striving against his own wishes, desiring against his desire. Gottfried von Strasberg's Tristan, one of many iterations of the legend, immediately makes it clear that Tristan and Isolde aren't just fated to be in love, they're doomed to it. The second she figures out what happened, Isolde's maid flings the bottle into the ocean. "This draft will be your death," she exclaims. And in the end, she's right. The whole time Tristan and Isolde are in love, we know they're going to die. The book portrays love as eternal, overpowering, impossible to escape. It destroys Isolde's hatred, Tristan's sense of honor. It's divine, godlike, and, for normal people everywhere, entirely ordinary. You humans seem to talk about love this way all the time. How often have you heard about soulmates, star-crossed lovers, twin flames, the idea that love conquers all? I keep hearing that love completes people, that they're not fully human without it. It seems to defy all reason and logic. It acts upon you whether you want it to or not. It's a force beyond comprehension, something everlasting and absolute. I can, of course, see the beauty in all of that, but isn't it a little bit scary as well? I mean, by that understanding, isn't love itself a form of cosmic horror? Nosferatu was easily one of my favorite films of last year. A masterclass in adaptation, Robert Eggers' retelling took the conflict at the center of the 1922 original and transformed it into something real. Not just a morbid spectacle, a relationship. In the original film, the vampire Count Orlok is obsessed with the heroine Ellen Hutter. In the end, his single-minded determination to have her leads to both of their deaths. It's a compelling and tragic story, but also sort of simple and sweet in a way. Eggers' version complicates their dynamic into a nightmarish sort of romance, halfway between Dracula and Wuthering Heights. Ellen is haunted endlessly by visions of death and pleasure. She summons Orlok in her dreams, only to wake up screaming. She desires him and is horrified by it. Ellen constantly, desperately tries to prove to herself that her love for her husband, Thomas, is stronger than what she feels for Orlok. She's tormented by her urges, and even more by the expectations of 19th century German society. After all, Thomas is a handsome young man with a promising career ahead of him. Orlok is a centuries-old undead being who controls an army of plague rats. He's a force of pure, untempered hunger and appetite, as he describes himself. It's probably obvious which one Ellen would choose if she really wanted to be a respectable wife. We see Ellen struggle with her simultaneous attraction and revulsion towards Orlok until one finally wins out in the end. She dons a wedding dress, weaves lilacs into her hair, and summons Orlok one final time. Their last night together kills them both. Like in the original film, Ellen dies after Orlok feeds on her. Orlok withers away in the rising sun. Throughout the piece, Ellen talks about being compelled by a powerful force, quote, someone or something who has the power to breathe life into her. She's not just talking about Orlok here. She's talking about destiny. No matter how she tries to convince herself otherwise, even knowing that it will lead to both her social and physical death, Ellen desires Orlok because she's fated to. There are cosmic forces at play that have already determined what's going to happen. Love compels her toward this transgressive and destructive relationship. In Nosferatu, Ellen's experience is exceptional. She's told that if she lived long ago, perhaps she would have been an arcane priestess. But maybe you don't have to be receptive to cosmic forces to experience something similar. Perhaps all human beings are fated to love. In a famous dialogue in Plato's Symposium, a fictionalized version of the playwright Aristophanes tells a myth to explain where love came from. Long ago, he says, humans were spherical beings, with 2 faces and 2 sets of arms and legs. They were arrogant beings who challenged the gods, so Zeus split them in half. Now separated, each person is constantly searching for their other half. Their desire to find each other cannot be fully reasoned, Plato's Aristophanes explains, because it is the work of the gods and a more vestigial memory of a primal state of perfection. The Aristophanes dialogue suggests that nobody is complete until they find their other half, someone destined to make them a whole person again. Here, love isn't something that people choose for themselves. It's a punishment from the gods who threaten to split them in half yet again if they ever try to rebel. Like in Nosferatu or Tristan, love in the Aristophanes dialogue is the work of something beyond anyone's control. It pushes people together at all costs, sometimes even against their own interests. In these works, love isn't just an emotion that people feel within themselves. It's an external force, something numinous and cosmic, bordering on the divine. You've probably heard of the idea of love languages before. The gist of the idea is pretty simple. Love manifests in 5 distinct ways: words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gift-giving, and quality time. Everyone supposedly has 2 or 3 of these love languages through which they communicate their love. Ever since this idea was first introduced back in 1992, love languages have become pretty ubiquitous. Sort of similar to Myers-Briggs personality types, you'll see them listed everywhere from people's social media profiles to self-help books. There's an obvious psychological appeal to love languages, but they're not actually based in psychology. They were created by Baptist pastor Gary Chapman, who based them on his own personal observations of the couples in his church. Chapman never claimed there was any scientific process involved in his theory, and there isn't. Even so, I do get the appeal of love languages. People have latched onto this idea for a reason. The supposed existence of love languages suggests that love can be boiled down to something fairly simple. Once you know your love languages, the logic goes, you can solve any problem you might have within your relationship. It's an easy fix, a foolproof way to understand people. Tantalizingly simple, tragically ineffective. From everything I've seen, love is just not like that. Like so much of the human experience, it is meaningfully subjective. Everyone has their own idea of what love means to them, what is love and what isn't. There's a short story I really like called What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver that I really like because it shows us what this looks like. It follows a conversation between four friends, two couples, as they try to define love. As the night drags on, they find that they have more questions than answers. One of the couples, Nick and Laura, are newly married. They're really affectionate with each other and always seem to get along. But is that love, or are they just in a honeymoon phase that will inevitably end? The other couple, Mel and Terry, are older. They've been together for longer. They bicker with each other and hardly seem to agree on anything. Before they were married, we find out Terry had another husband. He was violent, prone to drinking, and physically abusive. But despite everything he did to her, she still believes it was all out of love. Mal is, of course, horrified by her admission. "Don't be silly," he says. "That's not love, and you know it." After an evening of disagreement, the four of them conclude that they just can't define love. They sit together in the darkness, listening to each other's heartbeats. Love is too personal, too individualized, too abstract for them to attach a universal meaning to it. Even the title of the story, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, implies that they're using the word love to stand in for something else. Remember Ellen from Nosferatu? When she tried to describe her feelings for Count Orlok, this inevitable force compelling her toward him, she couldn't do it either. She could only call what she was experiencing, quote, something at play too awful or grim to explain. She's scared of this whole thing, the social transgression, the consequences, her own emotions, and she can't communicate any of it. As a cosmic force, love defies description. People can't even talk about it without talking about something else. They refer to metaphors, experiences, comparisons. They're trying to conceptualize something that they don't even have the words for. The only thing I can conclude from all of this is that love, like God, is ineffable. There's a picture book you may have heard of called The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. It's like a classic of children's literature. I think you probably still find it in schoolrooms. It's also, perhaps unsurprisingly, one of the most enduringly controversial of all children's books. You probably already know the story. A little boy is friends with a tree who gives him apples and lets him play in her branches. As the boy grows older, he asks for increasingly taxing things from the tree. Branches to build a boat, the trunk to build a house. Each time the boy asks, the tree willingly gives it to him. By the end of the book, the tree is reduced to a stump. The boy, now an old man, finally comes back, having lived his life. He sits on the stump to rest, and, quote, the tree was happy. It's a fine book. I like it. But I think I actually find the debate around it a little bit more interesting than the book itself. I've seen arguments about this book touch on everything from environmentalism to global politics, but the conversation really gets heated when it comes to love. Most Giving Tree interpretations fall into two camps. For some people, it's a beautiful parable of unconditional love. They say it's a mutual relationship. One character communicates love through giving, the other through receiving. For others, the Giving Tree depicts a toxic, one-sided relationship where the tree is destroyed by the boy's selfishness and her own lack of boundaries. I've even seen people argue that the tree is the manipulative one, duping the boy into depending on her. I've seen this book called everything from wise and true to, I kid you not, sadomasochistic. Some people have even tried to fix the story. The other Giving Tree is a retelling by Jacqueline Jackson and Carol Dell that attempts to give it an alternative moral. In this version, there's a second tree growing close to the one from the original. Unlike the first tree, this new tree withholds her branches and trunk from the boy. When he comes back as an old man, the first tree is, as in the original, a stump. But the second tree is still thriving. People are resting in her shade, kids are playing in the branches and enjoying the apples. Meanwhile, the man is so old, he's too sore to even sit down on the stump comfortably. He abandons her for the second tree, leaving the stump to weep alone. I mean, look, I don't disagree. Boundaries in a relationship are obviously important, but something about this retelling just doesn't sit quite right with me. Remember, there's no objective way to define love, no singular true love that everyone can just agree on. Both sides of the debate around the giving tree suggest that there's a right or wrong way to love, but that's not even an issue in the original story. Shel Silverstein himself never presents a clear moral. As far as the text is concerned, there's a tree who gives, there's a boy who receives, there's a relationship between them. Whether that's a loving relationship or not is left up to the reader. I bring up the whole giving tree debate here because it really seems to be something else in disguise. To me, it looks more like an effort to determine what real love is. If the story doesn't portray true love, the argument goes, then it needs to be fixed so that it does. It's almost like within this conversation, there's a hidden suggestion about love, a philosophy. If love isn't flawless and perfect, it seems to say, then it isn't love at all. Tristan and Isolde are powerless against the love that assails them. Ellen cannot resist Orlok, no matter how she tries. Orlok clings to her even as the sun rises. Every human being is only half a person, doomed by the gods to search eternally for the one person who can complete them. As bleak as this all sounds, I actually find it pretty romantic, as if to express that the love you humans feel is so profound, so overwhelming that it can only be an external force, something cosmic in scale. You can't define it. You can't put it to words in a way that satisfies the complexity and the nuance of the experience. So, you deify it. You revere that ambiguity. Love is fate. Love is perfection. Love is the pure light of God. From the outside, it almost appears as if you've taken something innate and intuitive and, in the search to give it reason, turned it into a cosmic horror story. What began as an emotion so large it could hardly be believed to reside within a single human heart has come full circle into something that was always too great for the human heart. Your love isn't love unless it rises to meet the divine standard. True love is perfect. True love is destined. True love is undeniable and inescapable. I see all of this, and I have to wonder, is love really better as this external force? Is it worth the terror? Or is it better as something you just don't get? Something subjective and ambiguous and messy and flawed that moves you all the same? Was love ever meant to be a cosmic horror story? Or did humans just turn it into one? It is kind of interesting to think of the cosmos this way, though, from a sort of fantastical, speculative perspective. If love is a cosmic force, what does that imply about the shape of the cosmos? How might that manifest in the organization of the planets and the stars? What could the big picture look like here? There's a book called Imagica by Clive Barker, the guy who came up with Hellraiser. It's one of the few stories I know that dares to play with this concept in discrete, literal terms. It's also one of the weirdest pieces of fiction I have ever consumed. Want to see love as a cosmic force? Okay, here's a cosmos with a uterus, a phallus, with extra-dimensional ethereal ovaries. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, but I promise you it is so good. So good, in fact, we made an entire exclusive video just gushing about it. Actually, we've made a lot of exclusive stuff like this. We have videos about the morphology of angels, about how Dune straddles the line between science fiction and fantasy, about artificial life as a magic system. We even have an entire documentary series about some of our favorite authors and the unique landscapes of their minds. It's called Worldsmiths, and to this day, it's one of the things I am most proud of. The only reason we've been able to do all of that is because we sort of have our own streaming platform. Okay, not we as in Tail Foundry, but we as in indie creators. I don't know if you know this yet, but a bunch of us have sort of banded together to create a place for projects like this. We have a lot of names on board you'll probably recognize. Tierzu has an original series where he breaks down individual animals as if they were character builds in a video game. Jacob Geller and Big Joel upload kind of an unbelievable amount of bonus content. Even the guys from MST3K are over there, which is still insane to me. This is Nebula. It's where we put the best versions of all our stuff. No ads, no sponsor spots, no holding back. You can even watch our videos early there. See this? This is next week's video. People are already watching it right now as I speak. Normally, Nebula is around $6 a month, but if you use our link, go.nebula.tv/tailfoundry, you can get it for just $36 a year, which is only $3 a month. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can get access to hundreds of hours of new content from creators you love, get a way better experience watching it, and support the best environment for creators like us on the internet. You even get guest passes with Nebula, which you can give to your friends to let them watch stuff for free. Again, visit go.nebula.tv/tailfoundry to get everything I just mentioned for just $3 a month. Nebula is just so awesome. Couldn't ask for a better home for our content. I hope you'll give it a look. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye.